Hey everyone, welcome to another Cigar Federation video cigar review. I am John the Cigar Surgeon, one of the mods and writers over at Cigar Federation. Today we're smoking something pretty interesting, something very unique. Very unique? Very unique is not a word. I don't know why I keep saying it. Something unique. Released in 2015, unfortunately I didn't have a chance to smoke it until 2016. This is a pretty amazing cigar. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the Padron 50th. Yeah. Padron, a company that is known worldwide. It's one of the most notable cigar companies in the world. Out of Nicaragua. Really, this company's story speaks for itself. I don't need to go into great detail. I think even if you're a casual smoker, you know about Padron. This particular cigar, very, very special. First of all, the MSRP on this thing. MSRP, $106. That's right. Not $10.60. $106. This is an anniversary release. It was put out with a special humidor. Beautiful presentation. You can see more information about that in our written review on Cigar Federation. Very cool. Comes in one Vitola. It's a big one. It's a 6.5 by 50, so that's a Toro. And it's a box press. It's got a very light box press to it. It's not a square press. It's a very light box press. Needless to say, I'm very excited. I want to thank Tim and Mike from Havana Controls. They're the ones that gifted me the cigar for the review. This did not come from Padron. I did not buy it. As much as I'd like to pay for a $106 cigar, I don't have that kind of money to spend on a cigar. So thanks again. Special thanks to Havana Controls and Tim and Mike. Thank you. So without further ado, I'm going to get to the nosing and the lighting and the smoking. So if you look at the wrapper on this Padron, you can see very typically that dark, oily wrapper that I associate with the Padron. I've smoked many Padrons in the past. They've all been fantastic. Lots of spicy cedar leather. I'd say the leather is about a medium plus. Spices are about a light plus, and the cedars are about a medium minus. Some light hay in the foot. Quite light and subtle in the foot. I'm surprised. I was expecting more. So this is a cigar, we talk about my special lighting method. It was taught to me by a cigar person who knows a lot more about cigars than I do. And he said what you need to do is toast the cigar until you get it to the ignition point without cutting the cap, because if you light the cigar while you're drawing on it, you're pulling hot gases, that superheated flame. If you're using a butane torch at 1200 degrees plus, which is, over 2000 freedom degrees, very, very hot, and you're pulling that into the cigar, you're altering the flavor profile, at least certainly for the first inch and a half, certainly possibly for the rest of the cigar. So you want to take your time, especially on a special cigar like this, $106. You don't want to be scorching the wrapper. So I'm going to use my trusty Zycar lighter here, which gets a lot of use, especially in cold weather. It's got a vented port on it, so works much better in cold weather. Turned the flame down the other day because of the weather had warmed up, and it looks like I'm actually going to have to turn it up here just slightly. There we go. So you want to keep the flame back from the foot of the cigar. You don't want the flame to actually touch it. But in this case, we're dealing with a very low flame, so we can get a little bit closer without worrying about scorching it. You can rotate the flame as you're toasting. Just move it around so that you're not putting the flame only in one spot. Again, you want to make sure you're not scorching the wrapper, which is tough. But if you keep the flame back, you can do this without scorching the wrapper. So I'm going to get the ash a nice hot white. So I can use my trusty white V-cutter here, my Zycar V-cutter, which is kind of my gold standard for draw testing. Draws a little on the open side, but that's alright. Immediately starts out with slight sweetness, a little bit of spices and some hay. Let's see if I can get a retro on here. And some medium minus spices with a pepper chaser. Pepper's a light plus, maybe a medium minus on the post draw. Just going to touch this up here. Very elegant start. So this is a big cigar. There's going to be a lot of check-ins to get all the notes. So I'll be back. So lots of smoke production off this Padron. Kind of what I would expect out of a Padron, quite frankly. They've always got a thick, silky smoke that they produce. Really balanced. Spices in the retrohale. some creaminess, some sweetness. Not getting any cocoa or chocolate, which is unusual because usually in a Padron there's lots of cocoa and chocolate. But I mean, we're only 7 minutes in, so it does take time for something like that to develop. There's a nice lingering light plus pepper on the post draw. So far, so good. It's going to be a long smoky experience. I'm expecting this to be probably around the 2:10 mark, 2:15 mark for smoking time. So lots of chances here to talk about the flavors. Passing that 10-minute mark, starting to get some light plus, medium minus cedar coming into the mix. I think it's overpowering the pepper on the post draw, but it kind of goes back and forth. So some draws you get a little bit of pepper on the post draw. Some draws that cedar kind of dominates, although the pepper is still there. It's just kind of being run over. Still tons of structured creaminess on the retrohale. Underlying some spices. Very good. As you can see, still tons of smoke production. Hitting the 20-minute mark. Chocolate cocoa is starting to come through now, which, again, I'm very familiar with in a lot of Padron cigars. They tend to have this really rich cocoa-ness to them. If cocoa-ness is even a word, I'm pretty sure it's not. The pepper, the spices on the retrohale, definitely starting to pick up now. So before they were light plus, medium minus. Now they're firmly in the medium plus category, and they are lingering between draws. So this isn't a cigar you'd want to retrohale, every 2 draws, every 3 draws. This is something every 5 or 6 draws. Otherwise, I think your palates and your nasal cavity is just going to get burned out. About an inch in so far. Fantastic cigar. Really enjoying it. Is it worth $106? I'm not sure. I mean, the MSRP on this is not really matching what the current market value is. The price has come down, I think, because I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to afford a $106 cigar. One thing to comment on here is the band number. Of course, all the Padrones have a numeric number. They have a number on the band, and the number on this particular Padron is 033974. If anyone out there cares, that's what the number is. I think one of the challenges as a reviewer is working on your expectations prior to a smoke. I tend not to read a lot about a cigar before I review it. Subconsciously, I think reading anything about a cigar, reading other reviews about a cigar can paint or change what you're perceiving or what you want to perceive. That's really tough with a Padron. You go into a Padron review with high expectations, especially if you know about the Padron 50th, you know the MSRP. Perhaps in your mind you're thinking, well, this is going to be an excellent review, which doesn't really work in Padron's favor, because if you go in with really high expectations, it's tough to meet those expectations. So is my pre-review expectations painted? Absolutely. And I don't know if there's any way to adjust for that. One thing to comment on is Padrones I've had in the past, like the 1926, the 1964, do have a second band underneath the primary band. This only has the primary band on it, although like other Padrones, the band is quite elegant. Of course, it lists that it's a 50th. Technically, it's 1964 to 2014 because the original release, I believe, was in December of 2014, although most people didn't really see them in the market until 2015. They did actually ship in December of 2014, pardon me. So the post-draw pepper here, starting to linger a lot more, again in the medium plus category now, lingering between draws, but there is that elegant cocoa chocolate that's rounding that out, and the creaminess from the post-draw, or from the retrohale, pardon me. Probably have another 20 or 30 minutes before we get into the middle third, maybe a little bit longer. We're sitting right now just under the half an hour mark. Smoking this pretty leisurely, hitting the 40-minute mark. I think the natural comparison with this cigar is probably going to be the Padron 1926, which is an amazing cigar. And I think when you look at a price point, again, an MSRP of $106, you ask yourself, well, is that worth, say, 4 or 5 Padron 1926s? And that's going to be a tough comparison. I mean, it is an interesting cigar. It is a fantastic cigar so far. I'm not sure a lot of aficionados could justify 5 Padron 1926s to 1 Padron 50th, but that's, I think, something that everyone needs to decide for themselves. This might be a great special occasion smoke. For me, I'm smoking this. My birthday was a few days ago, so this is a great birthday celebration smoke. And again, it's fantastic. I think this is almost certainly going to be in the box buy category, although obviously when we talk about box buy, shelling out something like $1,000 for the Padron Humidor in cigar, does that factor in? Yeah, it certainly does. We tend not to do that on our reviews at Cigar Federation. We tend not to factor in price. Perhaps we should, but I think we try to review cigars based on their flavor merit and nothing else. Coming up on the 1 hour mark, there's some cedar now coming through. It's not very strong. It's at about a light plus, so it's really just rounding out the flavors that are there. So everything's still there. Chocolate, spices, pepper. The cedar, I think, rounds out that pepper that's in the post draw, so it's not so dominant in the post draw. It's just they're playing off of each other, I think is the best way to describe it. Hitting the hour and 15-minute mark, starting to get this really intense sweetness. It's very nuanced. It's like a nougat, creamy honey as we migrate into the middle third. I'm hoping that carries through. It's very interesting. It's quite strong and dominant. It's about a medium minus to a medium. Hitting the hour 40-minute mark, the Padron 50th is definitely something you want to take your time with. I mean, it is a bigger cigar, 6.5 by 50, but because it's so rich, because there's so much going on in the flavors, you don't want to smoke this too fast. I feel like you'd run over a lot of the nuances. That creamy, sweet, nougaty flavor is really dominating the middle third, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's really, really good. Would I pair this with something? Maybe, but it's a special occurrence cigar. It's worth a lot of money. I'm not sure what I would pair with. I'm going to have to give it some thought. I mean, maybe a really, really nice, rich bourbon-finished scotch would probably be my go-to. If I were to go to a beer, I don't think I'd go anything heavier than a porter. I think a Scotch ale would be too sweet. Definitely would stick away from IPAs or lambics. That wouldn't be the way to go. So I'll have to think on this, and I'll come back. Coming up on the 1 hour mark here, not a lot of flavor transitions in the middle third, which isn't a bad thing. It's very structured, very delicious. Again, super taking my time. I mean, we're almost 2 hours in. Could have smoked this in 2 hours, but I don't think you want to. With cigar this limited, cigar this expensive, select, you definitely want to take your time to enjoy it for all that it's worth, and I am definitely enjoying it. I think there's no question this is a box buy rating. Would you spend the money in a box buy? I don't know. But so far, I got to judge it on its merits, and it's definitely a box buy cigar. Past the 1 hour mark, and the middle third is starting to wind down. Spices have come back in the retrohale. About a light plus. Balanced out really nicely with that creamy, sweet nougaty. Not much else here to report, so I'm going to keep smoking. If there's anything else to report on, I'll check in. But otherwise, probably be in the last third here at about 10-15 minutes. So into the last third here, sitting at about an hour and 20-25 minutes. The profile is still very creamy with spices in the retrohale. Very complex, very delicious. Obviously, you need to take some time to really enjoy this cigar, and I am. A little chilly out today, but very, very enjoyable cigar. Cedars come back in the last third, rounding out the flavor profile. It's a light level, so it's not running anything over. Just mixing in with the flavors to add some complexity. 2 hour and 40-minute mark, definitely in the last third here. There's some leather and some earth developing. Not too strong, about a light plus. Doesn't run over the sweet creamy nougaty or the cedar. Just mixes in to add more complexity into this last third. Closing up the review of the Padron 50th anniversary. What can I say? It's an outstanding cigar. Is it worth the price point? That's up for you to decide, but if you're going to smoke a limited edition cigar that's premium, this is probably the one to smoke. It's pretty fantastic. If you can get your hands on this, you're not going to have a bad smoking experience, that's for sure. It was absolutely outstanding. Thanks again to Tim and Mike of Havana Controls for floating me this cigar for review. Make sure to check out the written review at cigarfederation.com. And as always, if you like our videos, make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, check us out on podcast, and check out the written review at cigarfederation.com. I'm Cigar Surgeon. Thanks for tuning in.